Hey guys, welcome to my channel. As you can see the thumbnail, what if Issei become a book-eating magician part 3. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe to my channel and also watch previous episodes. Let's start the video. Well, it's complicated and I don't really have the time to explain everything to you. Just trust me, that is a dragon, and yes, he is in fact immortal. And with that, the two dragons left again, leaving behind a bunch of confused devils. Rias was the first to talk after the dragons had left. Well, at least no Ouroboros dragon spawn. After leaving the meeting room, Tiamat turned to Issei and gave him a kiss on the cheek. No reaction from him. Well, I got to leave now and check my own territory, but don't worry, I'll be back for dinner. A magical circle appeared under Tiamat and she waved goodbye to Issei before the circle flashed and she was gone. Issei looked at where she had been a second ago and then looked back at the door from which he had just come from. He could kill everyone in there. The thought came out of nowhere. No, it came from the monster and he knew it. Shaking his head, he turned to where the exit was and started walking. While walking, he started focusing on the cage, on the chains and on the monster that was held by them. He wouldn't simply let it go, he would hold it until there was no way to hold it anymore. Then Issei stopped. He had reached the main door without noticing. Exiting the building, he saw a few girls in Quo Academy uniforms talking to each other. He wondered how their flesh would taste like. He stiffened by the foreign thought. Normally he only got one per day and then they weren't so deep in his head. The monster was pulling on its chain harder than ever before. He needed to get back home, get back to the place where he couldn't hurt anybody. So he made his ways to the school gates, looking at the ground, focusing once more. He left the school grounds and started heading home. Trying to get rid of the beast in his shadows, trying to harden his chains on the monster caged inside of him. Trying to stop the evil within him from reaching his brain and corrupting it. There was the sound of water. He stopped. He found himself in the small park, only 100 or so meters away from the academy, where he had killed last, the stray, almost at same time. He looked at the fountain, trying to distract himself, but then he sensed something, someone. Someone was here with him, and that someone was a fallen angel. Issei felt him. He was on the other side of the park, hidden in the shadows, not wanting to attract attention, failing horribly. He somehow had forgotten to cloak his energy. Maybe it was because Issei was a human in their eyes. Bloodlust came from the fallen. It was clear that he had the mission to assassinate Issei. Like Dante back then when he still was under death's wing. An assassination on someone who's immortal. That's just straight up illogical and proved Issei's point about the fallen not knowing who he truly was. Should he get the first strike? No. If he was to attack first, he wouldn't be able to count it as self-defense, and besides, the fallen had no way to kill someone like Issei. Someone who couldn't be killed. So he had nothing to worry about. Should he reveal that he knew the fallen's location? No. It would probably trigger a monologue from the fallen that would give the monster time to overwhelm Issei, and then he would make the first strike. Something he didn't want. Should he wait? Yes, he should give the fallen a false sense of security, by turning his back to the creature. Then he would just wait for the fallen to strike, because it would be really stupid to not use the advantage. So Issei sat down at the edge of the fountain and waited for the fallen to attack. Ah, so you are the puny human I have to kill, the fallen revealed himself. Issei gave the fallen a deadpan. Had he seriously just thrown away the advantage to flex his non-existent muscles? Yes, he had. It was a man in a trench coat wearing a fedora, and he was surprised at Issei's lack of reaction to his reveal. What? Aren't you scared of death? Issei shook his head. Well, I'm going to change that. The fallen revealed his wings and took off. Staying at a height of 3 meters, he summoned a light spear. The grin on his face. The light spear was launched at Issei. No reaction. The light spear flew right through Issei's chest. He didn't even so much as twitch. Issei looked at the hole in this chest and then at the fallen, who had already landed and was walking away. Doesn't even check if his target really is dead. What an idiot. Flames. Donasik froze. He had just killed a human he was ordered to eliminate, because he might quite possibly be a threat. He had gotten the orders out of nowhere, but he still accepted Azazel's commands and readied himself to kill the human. And now he saw why the human might have been a threat. A burning fire. Turning his head back, he saw into cold eyes, cold dead eyes that pierced his soul. Around those eyes was fire, way too much fire. Crows. He wanted to take a step back, but he couldn't move. Something was holding him in place, stopping every attempt to get away and ensuring his death. The flames came closer. They tried to hide. He frantically searched around the area for anything that could save him. He didn't find anything. The flames came closer. They failed. Donasik started thinking hard. He had a hard time doing so with the adrenaline pumping through his head. The flames came closer. They failed. He looked up at the flames. They were only 5 or so meters away, slowly advancing, promising a painful death. The flames came closer. They tried to fight. He had an idea. He channeled the last of his energy into light spears that manifested around him and shot them at the silhouette of the boy he was supposed to kill and at the advancing flames. The flames stopped. They fell. A smile appeared on Donasik's face until the flames suddenly started moving again, this time faster. The flames came closer. They are weak. Donasik had only a few seconds until the flames reached him. He smiled, but not a victorious smile, it was a smile that accepted death. The flames came closer. They are prey. Normally people would now have flashbacks of all the events they had when growing up to the point where they currently have ended up. Donasik didn't have such a moment, he just felt the first sparks touch his feet. The flames reached him, and the flames, Donasik had prepared himself to feel insufferable pain the second the flames hit his body, but it wasn't like that. The flames had immediately killed of his nervous and burned through his body in the matter of milliseconds. It was quick and painless, the predator, and then all the flames disappeared and left behind Issei, while Issei was staring at the point where rests of his victim should be. Not even ashes remained. Azazel had a problem. It wasn't anything like a SGP Sacred Gear project. He totally took that from SCP problem, where something was stuck, or someone, mostly himself, had fucked up. No, those were annoyances, not problems. The problem was that Kokobile had gone rouge and a bunch of other Fallen joined him. I repeat, the battle maniac had gone rouge. Well, at least it was obvious what he was planning, starting another great war, which was really bad. But instead of searching for solutions, Azazel questioned himself, why did he let a fucking warmonger keep the title Fallen Angel Leader? It wasn't like Kokobile hid his interests. He always talked about how great another great war would be and how he wants to slaughter angels and devils. Had Azazel and the others really ignored what he was saying? Why was he even an angel leader? Was it really just because Kokobile was Cadre class and a war veteran? Was that really it? Had nobody in the Grigori ever thought about that? Azazel stopped crying about it and do something. Okay, we know that Kokobile wants to start another great war, so where would they find him? Underworld? Nope, he wasn't seen on Grigori territory and would never ever make a deal with a devil. He was way too prideful to do something like that. Besides, which devil would be stupid enough to put a battle maniac from the enemy side under their wing? Heaven? Nope, the angels know what his intentions are, and they aren't stupid enough to let in a warmonger. Any other pantheon? Big nope. Kokobile hated Daedrig and Albion for interfering, ending the First Great War. He thinks that the war is something between angels, fallen and devils, and only angels, fallen and devils. Human realm? Well, that's the last option, but the human realm is fucking huge, another reason why he would hide there. But where exactly? Europe? Very big nope. The church dominates that place and Kokobile would be found out in seconds upon entering. Africa? Nope. How is a fallen angel supposed to start a war in a territory where mainly fallen angels dominate? North America? Nope. The USA is almost devil exclusive, and Canada? Yeah, Canada could be the place. But we aren't done yet. Next, South America? Nope. There are so many pantheons, tribe gods, around that place that trying to start a war down there would cause at least some of those outside forces to interfere, and Kokobile wouldn't like that. Australia? Nope. Australia is the last big dragon place, and he hated it when Daedrig and Albion interfered, so now imagine how happy he would be when a bunch of strong energy monsters would interfere in his dream war. Not happy at all. Asia? That place is fucking huge, let's take it part by part. Russia? Nope, let's just say most magicians are Russian, believe it or not. How do you think they dunk 5 bottles of vodka a day without going into a coma? Magic. China? Nope, that place is really special. Japan? Maybe. Shinto faction has gone underground for some years and is considered dead. The yokai only take up so much of the living ground and, quote, 2 devil heiresses that are weak and both are siblings to overprotective Mao, and it's one of those parts in Japan that yokai leave alone. Yeah, it's quote. Azazel had one of those, well, that was easier than expected, looks on his face. Now he just gotta get there and find out when Kokobile is going to make a move. Or he could send Vali. No, he shouldn't send a battle maniac to stop a warmonger, that would end fatally. Something was wrong. Issei knew that something was wrong, not that the spears actually hurt him or that his energy had been weakened by it, was more like he had forgotten something. But he didn't know what. He finally reached his home. Opening the door to his house, he looked at the mirror on the wall. He had a bloodthirsty grin. He recoiled and fell to the ground. His breath went heavy, and he realized what he had forgotten. He hadn't pleaded the soul to forgive him. He had killed a sentient being and he hadn't asked it to forgive him. Yes, the Fallen tried to kill him. Yes, he had never really talked with the Fallen. But all the lives he had taken, they also had wanted to strangle him when he put the gun on their forehead. They also never exchanged a word with him, before being executed by his hands. And he had still asked them to forgive, a Fallen that may have been cocky and overconfident, but still only following orders. And Issei had killed him for that. He hadn't asked why the Fallen had done it. He hadn't asked what his motives were. Maybe his friends were held hostage. Maybe his life was on the line. Maybe he was just following orders. And Issei had killed him and hadn't apologized. A monster crawled through the corridors. Normally people get over murdering people after doing it a few times, but Issei wasn't supposed to kill. Issei wasn't supposed to do such things. The monster was supposed to do such things. It hunted the souls of those who crossed its path. The only 2 times he hadn't pled for forgiveness was when he killed 2 people he truly hated, but even then, it felt like the monster had pulled the trigger, while Issei was holding the gun. It killed them. Maybe the monster wasn't there, maybe it was just Issei's desires to kill people, but that didn't feel right. No, it wasn't right. It killed them all. There was no way Issei was supposed to be bloodthirsty, right? He wasn't supposed to enjoy killing. He wasn't. Was he? You killed them all. No, you were the predator. No, you were the monster. Maybe, yes, no, yes. No, snap out of it. He snapped out of it. Once more he saw Dante. This time there was a terrified look on his face, gripping Issei's shoulders. Issei was breathing heavily. The temperature of the room had risen tremendously but was lowering slowly. Issei's hands were on his skull. They were burning. They were gripping his skull. They were drawing blood. Blood was on his fingers. His blood was on his fingers. Tears were in his eyes. His tears were in his eyes. He looked back at the mirror. The bloodthirsty grin was gone. But the chains were still being pulled, but the cage was still being shaken. But the monster was still there. Deep inside he knew. It wasn't supposed to. Rise of Phoenix, a name that had started haunting Rias Gremory since the last time she had dinner with her parents. She had known the so-called immortal before the dinner and had thought very little of him. His powers were impressive, but from what she heard and seen of him, he was a self-centered jerk whose peerage was also his harem, that he regarded as nothing more than sex toys. When her mother and father invited them to have a private dinner, Rias was excited. It had been a long time since the last time she was alone with her parents and wanted to tell them about how great her life at Quo had been going. But when she met up with them, something wasn't right. Both of them avoided starting conversations and only responded in short sentences, while avoiding eye contact. They clearly wanted to tell Rias something, but they somehow didn't have the heart to say what was going on. After some time of enduring this silent treatment, Rias had enough and straight up asked them what they were hiding from her. Afterwards she wished that she had endured for longer, just to live a few more moments without the knowledge she had attained that night. After hearing what they had said, she stormed out of the restaurant, tears in her eyes, hardly holding back her screams of anger. An arranged marriage, behind her back, without her knowledge. She had told them multiple times that she didn't want to marry anyone that she didn't love, but her parents didn't seem to care for that. They had picked her future husband and she wasn't even informed until they got it on paper. And out of all devils it had to be Rise of Phoenix. Rias had never met him personally and hoped oh so much that the rumors were just rumors, and the stories were just stories, that the arrogant self-centered jerk was nothing more than just a mask, so she met up with him. And her hopes shattered. Even though she was the heir of the Gremory clan and the sister of the Satan Lucifer, he thought very little of her. He straight up confirmed that she was nothing more than another harem member to him and that he would hold her in the same regard than any other girl that wasn't his blood relative. He might have complimented Rias, but he didn't really compliment her as a person, but more her body. Rias' boobs and ass were more interesting to him than the person attached to them. His powers spoiled him rotten and made him believe himself invincible, which is supported by the fact that he had won every rating game he had participated in yet, not because his peerage was ultimate class, but because he himself would never retire and could just win the game on his own, thanks to his seemingly unbeatable regeneration. The problem was that beating him was the only way to stop the marriage. She had to beat him in a rating game, which was borderline impossible due to her having only 3 members and Rise's regeneration. Theoretically she had time until she finished college to collect her peerage and train, but the Phoenix family were trying to push the marriage to happen earlier so that Rias couldn't find a way out in time. The only other option was that someone beat him in a duel while fighting for Rias' freedom. The two problems with that plan were that she didn't have anyone who would do such a thing and was powerful enough, except for Syrex, who couldn't step in thanks to him being part of her family, and again, Risa was borderline immortal, if not fully immortal, so beating him required someone who could somehow surpass a phoenix. A phoenix, wasn't Hudu a phoenix? Hudu a phoenix, and not by name, by race. He isn't a member of the Phoenix Pillar, but a literal phoenix, which somehow means that is a dragon and seemingly powerful enough to get Tiamat, the Dragon Queen, the Chaos Karma Dragon, lust for him. That's impressive. Someone like Tiamat could surely beat Risa without breaking a sweat, and from what Rias had heard, Tiamat desired no mate that wasn't at least as powerful as herself, which meant that Issei was at least on her level. Dragons were also very proud beings, and even though Issei showed no kind of emotion whatsoever, Rias believed that there was at least something inside of Issei that kept him from just giving up and dying. Dragons don't have ranks, but they have titles, and they were really protective over them. Taking their title was one of the most disrespectful things you could do. It was a death wish. And Issei didn't just have the title, but literally was a phoenix, and if Rias played her cards right, Issei would find out about Risa and how his family uses Issei's name as if it was theirs. That would surely enrage the dragon and make him want to eliminate Risa if not the entire Phoenix Pillar. Rias could then allow Issei to rip Risa into pieces without getting into trouble, by making him fight for her freedom, letting him gain his revenge on the clan and Rias her freedom to marry whoever she wants. The plan of course had flaws, like the possibility of Issei completely ignoring the fact that the pillar took his name, or that Issei could just attack Risa on the spot, leaving her to wait for her parents to find another male and let the process repeat, or Issei somehow losing to Risa. The plan could go wrong in many possible ways, but it was the best one she currently had. This was the best shot she had to get rid of Risa, and she wouldn't waste it. Inside these chains, why did they want it? Why? Just why was it revenge? But who could want to take revenge on me? I. Who am I? What am I doing here? I just want to kill. Yes, kill. I like it. I need to kill to get out. Yes, that's right. Kill, kill, kill. The word sounds so right. Oh, so right. I want it. I want blood. I want flesh. I want death. Kill, kill, kill. Give me blood. Give me flesh. Give me death. Let me out. Let me out. Let me kill. Let me kill. Give me what I want. I will have what I want. Give it to me. No response. I shall kill, and nothing will stop me. The chains rattled. Did she want to punish Diedrich by letting the Ouroboros capture him and his hosts, letting her take revenge on the heavenly dragon? Or did she want the Ouroboros to find her long-lost treasure? It was truly a hard choice. On one hand, she had the possibility to get revenge on someone who had stolen something from her, and on the other hand, she could get that something back for the price of, wait, where's the hook? What do I need to do? The Ouroboros' expression didn't change. She had expected that question. You help me kill stupid Red. For a moment Tiamat thought the Ouroboros was set on eliminating Diedrich, but soon noticed that the dragon god wouldn't require help for that. That left, did the dragon god just request from Tiamat to fight Great Fucking Red? How in the world was she supposed to be even as much as noticed by the Dragon of Dragons? The guy has enough power to destroy the entirety of the Earth. Tiamat didn't see any possible way how she could help the Ouroboros against Great Red. Sorry, Ouroboros, I don't really see how I can help you with that. Office silently stared at Tiamat for a few seconds, before answering. You'll help? Tiamat didn't know how to respond, so she stayed quiet until the dragon god rephrased her first question. What do you desire? Tiamat, seeing no way out of this, sighed and thought once more about the two options she had. After some thinking, she finally decided on getting her treasure back. She could still punish Diedrich once their paths crossed again. I desire my long-lost treasure. The Ouroboros nodded, before asking one more question. Will you join me against Great Red? Tiamat hesitated for a moment before sighing. Yes, yes, I will. The smallest smile could be seen on the Ouroboros' lips, but Tiamat didn't notice. She was too distracted by the fact that she had just agreed to fighting Great Red. Do you know others that could help me? Tiamat once more hesitated. Should she tell the Ouroboros about Issei? If she would, Issei would get involved in things that probably didn't have to do anything with him, and that could damage their relationship. But on the other hand, if the Ouroboros finds Issei and then finds out that Tiamat knew about Issei, the dragon god might get angry at Tiamat, and the dragon queen did not want to know what would happen if she had to face an enraged dragon god and didn't want to find out. Yes, one. The Ouroboros didn't show any kind of reaction. Lead me to him. Tiamat had no other choice than comply. Gang was called Burning Lions. When the remaining gang members came back to their boss side, he noticed that their number went from 16 down to 4. The boy was obliterating them. And he was approaching them. Formation, Burning Liumph. Before the boss could summon his flames, he was hit square in the stomach, taking away his breath, but that shouldn't be possible. The boy had been 5 meters away when he had started to chant. No human could traverse such distance in such short amount of time. Thankfully, he wasn't knocked out in one blow like his underlings, and the boy didn't seem to notice that detail. He was already in the process of knocking the other 3 out. This was the boss chance. Formation, Burning Lion. As the last of his underlings was knocked out, his body ignited into flames before those flames settled around his hands and feet. The boy, having knocked out the remaining thugs, looked back at the boss and started approaching the Burning Man. Thinking he had the advantage, the boss dashed forward, putting a large amount of power into his right arm before punching the boy right through the chest as if he was made of paper. A satisfied smile came onto the man's lips, but as he tried to pull his fist back, he couldn't move it. Being caught off guard for a moment, the man saw the boy holding his hand in place and noticed that the boy was staring him right in the eye. He was far from that, and that shocked the boss. Before he could do anything, a white fire appeared around the boy's wound, and when it came in contact with the boss' arm, he lit up like gasoline. At the same moment, Issei let go of the man's arm and started walking away, seeing that his business was done, while the man had already disintegrated completely. Not even ashes remained. Issei left the rest of the thugs alive but knocked out. The boss was the only one who hit him with enough power that would have been life-threatening if he was a normal human, which meant he attacked with the intent of killing Issei. The rest of the thugs couldn't even scratch him, so he ignored them. Before leaving the alley, he abruptly stopped, turned around, bowed his head and silently apologized for killing the man. How the girl he saved looked like, he did not know nor care. What do you mean, Donasik's gone? Rainier could not believe what she was hearing. Why yes, Lady Rainier, we haven't heard anything from him since you sent him to kill the anomaly. There are only two logical explanations to his disappearance. The first one was that he had betrayed them and returned to the Grigori, but if that were the case, they would have already been picked up by a Grigori patrol. The second was that Donasik died, somehow. The guy was a war veteran and probably the strongest of the 4, seeing as how he was the closest to reaching a second pair of wings, but he didn't really think of himself much as a leader, more a strong warrior, and that's why Rainier was the one that led the group. Middle, the young fallen twitched at the mention of her name. Go and look if the anomaly has any detectable weaknesses. Lord Azazel said he wanted this town free of any possible threats, so if you can't kill him, find a way to trap him. Middle hastily nodded before spreading her single pair of wings and flying out of the church, into the silent night, where somebody was. Who are you? A certain dragon god Loli was staring at Issei, who was staring back with his dead eyes, while seated on the couch in his living room. He had just come back home and was greeted by Tiamat and this other dragon when entering his home. Office was looking at him with vague interest in her eyes. The young dragon in front of her was vastly different from all the other members of her species she had met. All of them showed some kind of fear or respect when facing her, neither of them she found in the young dragon's eyes. All of the males tried seducing her in one way or another, this one didn't even talk to her. All of them made a lot of noise, this one was completely silent. His body wasn't the typical biological one, it didn't have any kind of organs, bones or other important things mortal creatures required to survive, not even a brain or heart were in his body. He also didn't really move if not necessary. She would have easily believed that he was paralyzed, wasn't it for the fact that she saw him walk into the house and sit down on the couch. He also didn't talk, at all, not even answering her questions, and to be honest, she preferred that over him saying anything really. Office just looked into his empty void eyes, and she saw something that was very different in their emotionless ways. Her emotionlessness came from all the time in pure isolation. She had emotions somewhere buried deep within her, and sometimes they were shown by small gestures like miniature smiles or light frowns. His emotions, they didn't seem to exist. Most people would find such a state unsettling or creepy, but it reminded Office of something, the dimensional gap. The gap had been silent and hollow before Great Red came in and filled it with sound. Issei was in a similar state, blank, empty, free of sound. She liked it. All those years she never found anything that resembled the gap before the red one appeared and filled it, until now, there it was right in front of her. She couldn't help but feel a certain attachment to the dragon. She felt attracted to his presence, to his silence, to his very being. Was this love? Maybe, but Office now found something that was way more valuable than the already tainted gap. She had found a new place of silence. Oh, so Dante found himself another phoenix. Hades, one of Death's strongest warriors, sat on his throne. He was one of the gods of death, and this circle it was his turn to make the phoenix fall. He raised his hand, and with the Ouroboros power. Nothing happened, and with the Ouroboros power. Still, nothing. Something has happened behind my back and I don't like the outcome. His snake was gone, the snake that Office had given him to make him join the Cows Brigade. It had given him a tremendous power boost and he grew really attached to it. And now it was gone. Who the fuck made Office leave the Cows Brigade? Issei was lying on his bed with a smile. What? Issei was on his bed, smiling, reading a porn mag. Okay, what the fuck? He was humming a simple tune to himself while going through the mag page for page, sometimes stopping to admire a beautiful pair of oppi. His room was full of posters that had very eroge content all over them, and there were mountains of porn mags, hentai, porn DVDs and all other kind of pervert stuff. After finishing his current porn mag, Issei put it on top of one of the stashes and wandered to his computer. He booted the machine up, and after entering his password the monitor revealed an unpleasant amount of hentai games on the desktop. His mouse wandered over one of them and he started it, selecting a new save file and started playing the game. On his face was a rather lustful expression that somehow was also a little bit peaceful. After a while he fucked up an audio dialogue and pressed the wrong button, causing his character to say something he did not at all intend to say. His face turned into one of shock and then sadness. Seconds later it turned out that his dialogue option triggered a secret sex scene and his expression changed into a surprised one and then into a self-satisfied one, before becoming lustful as the scene started. After finishing the game he stretched himself and walked to his window, looking out into a void of pure nothingness. If he could, he would jump out and fill the void with everything he had, but he couldn't. He was trapped in this tiny room. The door was also locked and didn't allow anybody to leave nor enter. At first, he had a fit of panic and tried everything in his might to get out of the room, breaking the window, puncturing the wall, lockpicking the door. Nothing worked. He was trapped, and after a while he had accepted it. At least he could do whatever he wanted with this room. Literally, the only limiter was his own imagination, and the limitation that he was the only living being in the room. He was ultimately alone, even though it felt so wrong. It felt like he wasn't supposed to be alone, but he still was. Sometimes he could see a faint blue light far off in the distance trying to reach him, but it came never even close. Issei didn't want to escape this room. He wanted to banish the loneliness he felt here, the depressing feeling of knowing that you'll live alone and forever. But he needed to be let out to do something, and for somebody to let him out, they needed to reach him, and for that they needed to get the guy up there to open up his heart for them. But the heart was guarded. Thanks for watching guys, part 3 is over. Hope you all enjoyed. If you like this video, please do like, share, comment and subscribe.